Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 9 at Belmont Park on Saturday. It's the Grade 2 Fort Marcy. These are older horses going about a 1 mile and an eighth on the inner turf. Let's take a look at this field. $200,000 is the purse, and we've seen Charlie Appleby trained Godolphin-owned runners come in and make hay in North America over the last few years, and the very sharp number 3 Ottoman Fleet 8-5 on the morning line, wheeling back pretty quickly in less than 3 weeks off a nice Group 3 win in England.
It feels like he just ran maybe the best race of his life, winning that Group 3 last time, Dan. I don't think he has, the credentials of some of the other Godolphin Appleby horses that we've seen ship over here, but he's a 3-time stakes winner. He ran really, really well in his most recent start, and he's not facing, a bunch of killers in this race.
The number 9 law professor is entered main track only and would obviously be the horse to beat if this race is washed to the dirt. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. Pace very important seemingly in just about every New York graded stakes race on the turf. Keystone Field, the number 7, does have speed, and he's shown speed on dirt in his career. He's shown speed on turf. I think he's going to go to the front. King Cause, though, has pulled off an upset in gate-to-wire fashion on grass in the past. Maybe those are the tactics they'll try to use here.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how they decide to play it. I guess you're right that King Cause did win the Knickerbocker over this distance at the end of last year. He did it on a super slow pace. So we'll see if he gets the same kind of setup here. Both of these horses, the 2 and the 7, are trained by Maker. So, who knows what the plan is between the two of them. I suspect Keystone Field is going just because it kind of seems like it's the only way he can win this race. Tie to the Sea, though, the 8, they don't have him up there, Dan. To me, he's another one. He's got one way to win this race, and that's if they try to make the lead with him.
And he has shown plenty of speed in the past and has to take advantage from this outside post. It is not easy breaking from the outside, going 1 mile and an eighth on the inner turf at Belmont with a very short run to the first turn. Let's start things off with the number 1. That's Dyna Drive. He won the Lure Stakes. It was a restricted event at Saratoga, and he kind of worked out an in-out, in-trip, and he weaved his way through traffic to win that race. They've tried him in 3 graded stakes races since. It hasn't been very good. Has he been exposed at this level?
I think a little bit he has. I mean, listen, there was nothing to knock about his performance in the Lure at Saratoga last summer, but and you mentioned he did have to sort of alter course a couple of times, but he had a great setup that day. That pace was super fast. He was way out of it, and he came with a big run and ran a career best race to get the job done. Overall, I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's necessarily, a graded stakes kind of turf horse, but maybe he falls into a trip from the rail here and outruns his odds.
The number 2, King Cause, draws a good inside post position with that early speed, and he'll be reunited with Kendrick Carmouche for the first time since they pulled off that gate-to-wire gambit at 15-1 in the Knickerbocker, albeit on a very slow pace at the end of last year. His 3 subsequent starts have not been great. They ran him on synthetic last time out, Mike. I thought he tried hard for third despite being a little bit wide. He never looked like he was going to win that race. He was also wired by a sharp synthetic horse.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he ran fine in that race. He's a horse who obviously handles the synthetic track just fine, but he ran okay in that race. There was nothing to really knock about that performance. I actually even felt like 2 back then when they ran him in the Pegasus World Cup turf. He ran well in that race. He had a far outside post. He was right up close. He wound up getting tired at the end, but that was a good performance too. This horse is overall, he's pretty good, and he can fall into a trip here. And this is a race that he could easily win with one of his really good performances. And it also feels like it'll be a fair price.
The number 3 is Ottoman Fleet, who wintered in Dubai and ran some very nice races there, including a second to the excellent Nation's Pride in a group race 2 starts back. Last time out, they ran him in Newmarket, and he just settled near the back of the pack in last, and he was able to sort of weave his way through horses down towards the inside, and once he made his final lead change, he was gone.
Yeah, he really ran well last time. They were dropping him back a little bit in distance there. He was, more than anything else, Dan, he was just really confidently ridden throughout that race. Like his rider, William Buick, knew he was going to win that race. And ultimately, when it was time, and it was pretty late when they made their final move, he won that race pretty convincingly as the favorite. I don't know. Again, I know that he's been pretty good on softer turf courses. I guess that shouldn't be an issue with the way the weather's been around here on Saturday at Belmont. Dan, I don't know. I just feel like they've shipped him over and found a really good spot. And by the way, it's a very lightly raced 4-year-old. He could easily improve again.
And I think that was really the main worry from Appleby was the ground. And so far, the ground looks like it could be to his liking. He likes a little bit of give in it, and so far, there might be some give in it this week at Belmont. The 4 is Fort Washington. If the Timeform US pace projector is correct, Fort Washington is in trouble because he's a one-run closer that doesn't have a lot of speed. Here's his most recent race, the Appleton, going a mile at Gulfstream Park, and he's just sort of down inside. They tried to save as much ground with him from the back of the pack, and he's going to run on and finish an okay third behind 2 horses that were close to the pace. I think he's a little bit better than his form indicates. He just needs some help up front.
Yeah, he actually runs well in this race. You saw him there sort of briefly blocked behind horses in the stretch, but he got clear with time and he ran. It was just way too late. I also felt like he ran well 2 back in that grade 3. The real problem, Dan, with this horse is, his running style is terrible because he's the worst from the gate. He gets away slow every single time, puts himself behind the 8 ball, and then has a ton of ground to make up. I think he's talented. I'm a fan of his. I'm also getting a little bit tired of him.
You rarely see Grade 1 stakes winners come back as 7-year-old new geldings. I guess nobody wanted to breed to Rock Emperor, who won the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic in 2021, and has been a solid horse for Chad Brown for a very long time. His most recent race was the 2022 Joe Hirsch, and it was a race where I think he just raced on his left lead all the way around the track. He was still making up a little bit of ground. He was no match for the very good mare Warlike Goddess. He's been a good horse for a long time. We've never been his biggest fans, but he has races that could win this.
Oh yeah, he has races that would win this very easily too. Yeah, he's a good horse. He never turned out to be, I think, what maybe they thought he was going to be when he first got over here. But as you mentioned, he did win a Grade 1 a couple of years ago. He won the Bowling Green last year over a good field. Most of his better races are going a little bit longer than this, but he fits right in here. His good race gives him a real chance, and he's tactical, Dan. He's going to get the right trip in this race.
City Man, the number 6, won 4 of 5 starts towards the end of 2022, including a couple of graded stakes races. His most recent start came as the beaten favorite in the Pegasus World Cup. He had a lousy post position that day. The trip didn't work out. He should get a better trip this time around because he has very good tactical speed. He fits in this spot very well. He's also 5-2 on the morning line.
Yeah, he probably should be one of the shorter prices in here, though, considering the campaign that he put together last year as a 5-year-old. If he comes back and he's still that good, he's going to be a handful in here. He just ran one really good race after another last year, the Pegasus World Cup. I mean, maybe he was, at the end of a run there where he needed a little bit of time off, but he also had a terrible trip from a wide post. He can get a better trip this time, and it's a race that he could easily win.
Keystone Field, the number 7, on a triple-digit Beyer speed, figured 3 starts back, but that race was on the dirt. He was second to Law Professor last time out on dirt. He does have decent turf form. He does have decent speed. I think he's a better dirt horse.
I think he's a better dirt horse, too. Maybe he just goes to the front here, Dan, and gets some kind of soft trip on the lead, but I think he's going to need that to be effective against this field.
And here's the number 8, Tide of the Sea, a horse that has a good amount of back class. He was a graded stakes winner a couple of years ago. Tom Worley claimed him for 62.5, 5 starts back. They've yet to reach the winner's circle with him, but I think he has to show a little bit more speed than he did last time out. He seemed a little dull. I like that they gave him a break.
I like that they gave him time off, too. That wasn't a good performance. He didn't run well in his prior turf start either when they went long with him and he couldn't make the lead. We'll see what happens. There are ways to mitigate the first 4 starts for Morley for sure. And he's got better races to get to, but I don't know, man. He's been a little bit on the downside for about a year now. I wonder how much he has left in the tank.
And Law Professor has entered main track only. Again, we talked about him. He's a legitimate stakes horse on the main track. And if he runs in this race, he's probably just going to win. Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 2 Fort Marcy. Mike's going with Ottoman Fleet, Godolphin, Appleby. They've been on a roll. This is a very sharp horse, and it looks like they found a great spot for him.
Yeah, I just like the spot they're shipping into, Dan. I suspect he's going to take a lot of money in this race. I kind of feel like he should based off his most recent start.
King Cause for me as an interesting pace player in this race, especially if they don't send his stablemate the 7. I like that they got Carmouche back on him. I think they're going to be aggressive and take advantage of his inside post. And how many times have we seen it in New York? These horses go to the front. There's no pace whatsoever, and a moderate to big price horse sprints on home. I'll take a little bit of a gamble with King Cause. 2536 for me, 3564 for Mike. It's the Grade 2 Fort Marcy, one of two graded stakes races at Belmont on Kentucky Derby Saturday. Good luck.